What's going on, guys? I'm just at the room in Vegas. Last day here. We got a really nice view. And we had a good day in the market today. I'm just finishing up my business trip here. So we're going to talk about the market and let's jump right in. All right, guys. So we had a pretty dang good day in the market. And I've got a bunch of charts pulled up here. So we're going to look at the performance of quantum stocks today. We're going to look at IonQ, QBTS, Rigetti, and LAES. We had a lot of pullback in the market on Monday and seemed to recover pretty nicely today with some positive sentiment perhaps coming back into play. So let's jump right in. So we see that the S&P had a nice 2.5% day, and it held its gains pretty much for the whole day. The Nasdaq 2.71, even the Russell had a nice day, and the Dow had a 1,000 point day. Very nice after the day yesterday. A couple indicators that I would like to look at real quick are the fear and greed. So the fear and greed is sitting at 24. We know that at one point in the not so recent past, the fear, we were all the way at 4 on the fear and greed index. We also see that the VIX has started to come down from, if we look at the past month, we touched 60 on April 7th, and it's slowly trending down. So we're seeing it looks like some of that uncertainty and that instability, perhaps we're finding a little bit more healthy signs for the market. So let's take a look at quantum stocks and how they did. Now, the big thing with the gains today is that this list was all red yesterday because the whole market was red yesterday. And I thought about getting on here and talking about it. And it's just like, you know, yesterday, Jerome was saying, or Trump was saying, Trump called Jerome a major loser, and the market did not like that at all. And it does seem today that the market has got over that sentiment, and there's been some recovery. So everything say that I'm saying here was with a grain of salt that yesterday there was a lot of losses in the market. So IonQ performed really well today. I'm excited to go into the chart on IonQ because they had a 6.3% day. Rigetti 5.6, LAES 4%, Intel 3.5%. Amazon had a nice day. And as you can see, the whole quantum watch list is green, including Skywater, which I recently covered on the channel. I did a deep dive on Skywater. I think it was my previous video before this. So if you'd like to learn more about Skywater, jump over. All right, and then on our heat map, we're seeing pretty much green across the board. It was a nice day in the market. Apple, Nvidia, Microsoft, Amazon, you know, these huge tech companies really do move the entire market. That's just, I think I saw Dylan with Money video, one of my favorite YouTubers, and he was talking about how, or maybe it was Jeremy, he was saying about 25% of the market is just these 7 companies, really, right? So, and Tesla had a 4.6% day. I'm listening in on the earnings call. It's just after market, and really, they missed on the top and the bottom, but it's about what they're going to do in the future, not the current financials. And I think we'll see what ends up happening on that earnings call, because at the time of this recording, the earnings call hasn't happened. So then let's jump into IonQ. So what I wanted to point out with IonQ when I'm looking at this chart is I want to go back to that very special day in the market, Wednesday, April 9th, when the whole market really jumped up. What I want to point out is despite the QQQ almost giving back all of the gains from that Wednesday, IonQ has really held this new level. So we see that it touched this $23, but it's really wanted to be in this 25 range for a couple of weeks, even with the market being quite choppy. So historically, with price action, let's look back just a little bit further for IonQ. We saw that it's actually below the quantum crash level, and it seems that this quantum crash level is now acting as a resistance. So what we want to see is we want to see IonQ break through that crash level, and then we could see potential upside. Could it make it back to its $54 all-time high? Who knows? The CEO is very bullish on the company and thinks that they're the next NVIDIA. I recently covered on my channel that interview that the CEO of IonQ did. So go take a look at it if you'd like to see that interview on Fox Business and my reaction to that. That's 1 billion by 2030 is what the IonQ CEO is predicting. Lot to prove financially on that front. So we will see if that is actually what happens. So QBTS, we know that around their quantum supremacy claims, the pre-conference, their increased guidance, we saw some beautiful price action all the way to $12. And if we actually go back 6 months, we can see that this is the only quantum company that has actually crested. We're going to draw a horizontal line here. So they actually moved past their pre-quantum crash level. And there's been a very challenging macro environment, lots of different factors at play here. No new announcements or catalysts from D-Wave lately, paired with a lot of tech sell-off in the market. And we're kind of here at this, I want to call it it does look like a support. And if we go back, we can see that really prior to this big run-up, QBTS has held this $6 level. So what type of upside could we see from here? Well, there's a lot of room for QBTS to run, and if the market starts recovering, this could be a very attractive stock for traders, for long-term investors. My entry for a lot of my position was down in the high 4s or low 5s. So I'm fine that the stock is at $6 right now. I don't think it's actually a reflection of D-Wave or QBTS. I think it's a reflection of the wider market conditions. So definitely keep QBTS on your radar. And if you're looking at establishing a position, of course, do your own research. I have a ton of content on my channel about D-Wave. They just got #1 on my Quantum 8. I went to the Quantum conference and had some really interesting conversations. So go check out those if you're interested in learning more about the company. All right, so Rigetti. We're going to jump into Rigetti now. So Rigetti has had some news today, actually. We're going to pull that up. So Rigetti was chosen to lead a $3.5 million Innovate UK's quantum mission pilot competition to advance quantum error correction. So that was some good news for Rigetti today. How did the stock respond? Well, if we look at Tuesday, Monday, right, was yesterday. Let's see, actually, where am I on this chart? So we actually had a, make sure I'm reading this correctly. There wasn't really a gap up or gap down. It was pretty low volume by Rigetti's standard, a little bit of sell off at open, and then actually very nice steady uptrend through the day with some sell off in the middle of the day. What are we looking at as a price target, or where do we think Rigetti is going to be in 3 to 6 months? Well, Rigetti has never even come close to its pre-quantum crash level. So we know that it was over $20 at one point. It did drop to $6, and now it's hanging around 8. And it seems to have a very solid level of support. Investors aren't really selling their position at this level. And another interesting note, while IonQ dropped below its quantum crash price, Rigetti, if we move over here and we add a line, we can see that Rigetti is actually held above that quantum crash level, despite macroeconomic conditions that are unfavorable for quantum stocks and higher risk tech plays like quantum. All right, and finally, let's go over to LAES, one of my favorite cybersecurity plays. And at one point, we were at $11, and we can see that LAES has been quite beat up, and it's just kind of around this $2 position. We've seen some run up recently. We saw it go from $2 all the way up to almost $4 and then sell off. These last candles, we have a nice uptrend. So on the day, we had, let's take a look at the watch list. $4 on the day, which is a decent move. And I think we could definitely see LAES make more of a run, especially if some bigger institutional investors realize that quantum cybersecurity is going to be a massively important cornerstone of the tech landscape in the post-quantum world. All right, everyone. So we got through 4 stocks and price action. And it was a nice market day. Hopefully we have more of these. We have Tom Lee saying the bottom is in. Technical indicators would say the bottom is in. Fear and greed. We can't stay at a 60 on the VIX and a 4 on extreme fear forever. Eventually, the realities of the new world order and things start to set in. So the question is, when will investors be comfortable stepping in to invest in U.S. equities again? And we're in the middle of earnings season, so we know Tesla reported today, but we have a ton of earnings, especially from the Magnificent Seven, in the next 10 to 14 trading days. And those earnings, what they do is they have a life of their own, right? So if we have great numbers from a company, a beat, or they provide forward guidance that is adjusted for the macroeconomic environment of tariffs and the changing and how things are going, if there's positivity that comes out of that, then we could see some surprises and have some nice things going on. And I'll leave you all with this thought. We're all kind of waiting for some positive news. That's been the most scarce thing in in this administration, as far as it affects the market. I think the market is looking for positive news, a trade deal, new information that can make investors feel less fearful and more comfortable with this new environment that we are in. So let's hope for positive news, and it could come at any time. If I've earned, and only if I've earned it, consider leaving a like. We'll talk to you all soon.